G'day, Westy here, how you going? Hey, today we're going to do a tutorial on on how to change brake rotors and brake disc pads on the front of a 2006 Nissan Presage van. I'll just show it to you. This has got a really bad vibration through the pedal when you put your foot on the brakes. It's like, and makes the steering shudder and everything, so it's really quite bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the wheels and everything and take the rotors off and change them for brand new ones rather than muck around with grinding and stuff. At least it'll be nice and new, brand new pads, and we'll be good to go. Alright, so you're going to need some tools. You're going to need definitely axle stands for safety. You're going to need a jack and some hand tools, and we'll get into it. So let's get some overalls and get to work. A few basic hand tools like a trolley jack, axle stand, some hand sockets, spanners, a hammer, and I've got some ratchet spanners here, and some various extensions etc. for a 3/8 drive set. Before we actually start jacking the vehicle up, we need to first of all remove the wheel trim so we can get access to the wheel nuts. So you just basically simply push your hands in behind, pull it out, and it comes out. And notice there's a little recess under here, which is where the valve goes. Okay, so before we jack it up, we're just going to crack these nuts, just so that we're not fighting it to get it apart. Okay, once that's cracked off, then we can look at jacking the vehicle up. When you're jacking the vehicle, you need to get under and make sure that you're jacking in a nice secure spot. So what I do is I jack it up here on the rear of the stabilising strut, and then make sure you've got it all nice and locked up. And then get it up off the ground so that the wheel comes up off the ground. Okay, wheels off the ground. Now get your axle stand, and we want to get it under. So jack it up a little bit more. Want to get it under the main suspension, the main chassis, and then lower it back down onto that, so that it's got you. So if the jack does let go, because hydraulics can fail at any time, i.e. the hydraulics on the jack, so now we know that that vehicle cannot fall on us no matter what happens, unless the you know, the earth moves and the car rolls off. So handbrake's on, it's in park, so now we can carry on and take the wheel off. Right, so the wheel's off now, and we just need to remove the brake caliper, and to do that we need to remove these two screws, this one here and the one on the bottom, the two bolts that actually go through the caliper itself, and then this whole caliper will slide away, will slide out like so. So let's get into that. Yeah, it's 17. Okay, so you just give it a tap, crack it off, go to the bottom one, same again. Once it's cracked off, you should be able to undo it by hand. Okay, so slide the caliper out. And remove the shoe, the lining. Disc pad. So these disc pads are actually in good nick, but I'm going to replace them anyway. Okay, so now we need to actually remove the caliper carrier, and that's these two 19mm bolts at the back here. They are going to be quite tight, so you can either use a hammer to crack them loose, and we've got to get this in here. So I'm going to crack this off. Okay. That's one. Okay, and that's got it off. Right, so now we're just going to slide the disc rotor off. And I'm going to actually match up with the new ones that I've got. You want to match up your new rotors with the old one, make sure you got the right one. Basically I normally sit them on top of one another and check the outside diameter and the inside diameter. You can measure in, but also the height from here to here is crucial as well, because if you get that out, you're not going to be able to get your wheel on, or your caliper won't fit properly. So I just use my finger as a gauge and poke down through and touch on the top, and then if it matches on the other side, you know you've got the right size. And then just put one on top of the other and just line up your bolt holes so that you've got the right pattern for your bolts. And then once you've confirmed that, crack her open. Right, and before we get involved in this, we need to actually clean the faces of the disc itself, because it's got a preservation oil on it, and you need to spray that with a product like Brake Clean, otherwise it'll get into your new lining. So just give it a spray. Get a rag and clean it off. Same with this side. This is what I'm using here. Brake Clean CRC product. You can use whatever brake cleaner you like, as long as it doesn't leave a film, because it'll just soak straight into your linings and cause havoc. Okay. So now we're going to place that back onto the hub in here. Like so. Put your caliper housing back on. Because you don't want these falling apart when you're going down the road, that's for certain. So if you haven't, if you've got a torque wrench and you're not actually used to doing even torques, you want to do it up to about 65 foot-pounds. Okay, so that's that on. Now what we've got to do, we've got to collapse the piston in the caliper itself. So we're going to get some slip jaws and do that. I'll be back in a sec. Here's what I do to remove the, or collapse the pistons, because you've got to get the pistons back so that you can get your new linings and new brake pads in there. So I use a G-clamp and I wind it in to collapse the piston. Sometimes the other one will come out at the same time, so you've got to be careful, keep a careful eye on it. But these usually work a treat. So you get in there with your G-clamp, wind it in, and you've got to also keep an eye out, open up the bonnet and check your brake fluid, because you don't want to squeeze in too much, because without taking out the excess brake fluid, because if it gets all over the vehicle then you're going to get okay, that one's collapsing down good. You just want to get it so that it's flush with the housing and wind it out. Move on to the second one. And just, you can see it disappearing into the housing there. Just get it so that it's flush, like so. Because if you do it too far, your rubber will come off the actual boot itself, and you'll basically pour hydraulic fluid out, and you'll have to start from scratch, because you'll have to re-bleed the system and everything. So okay, so that's that. Let's collapse that side. So we've just got to put a new set of discs in the actual caliper, and we'll get to that in a sec. Okay, match up your disc pads. I'm using OE Performance ceramic pads. Put your pad in at the bottom first, angle it in, and then slide it in like so, and the same for the inside. Okay, that's both of them in. Now put your caliper back on, but before you do that you want to get some copper coat, because these little pins here that you screw back in, they've got to be clean, and also they've got to be lubricated. So we'll put some copper coat on those. Put our copper coat on now. And what this does, this allows the brake caliper to slide freely without sticking, and that's what can cause a lot of juddering as well. So we're going to offer the caliper up to the housing and slide it into place. Make sure that you've got your little rubbers up here pushed in so that you don't get torn, and you slide it all into place, because they can be quite tricky. Okay, so put one of your pins in, slide it up and get it started. Okay, and then get your second pin in down the bottom here. Just make sure 100% that you've got your bolts the rubbers, you haven't picked up the rubbers on the way through. Okay, and they take a little bit of lining up, and then get your 17mm and do them up to about 45 foot-pounds. Okay, so now all we've got to do now is put the wheel back on and rinse and repeat for the other side, and we're done. So I hope that helps out a few of you guys and gals. And yeah, but careful thing is to make sure that you've cleaned all the rubbish off the rotor itself, otherwise it'll go straight into your linings and you'll have braking problems right from the... So that's why you use your brake cleaning product. Right, so I'll whack this wheel on and I'll go and do the other side. Okay, and then just jack it up again and remove your axle stand and lower it down, and then take your jack right out. You don't want to drive out off with that still in there, and then just finish tightening up. And just go around once just to make sure you've got them all. Right, now put our wheel trim on. Make sure that you've got the hole here, this hole here lined up with your valve when you put it on, so put that in first. And then just whack it. Done. Okay, I hope that helps you guys, and that's Westy over and out. Thank you. Once you've done those brakes, one last thing you have to do is pump the brake pedal up. So you just pump it up until it goes hard. Yeah. And then you can take it for a test drive. If you don't do that, you're going to put your foot on the brakes and nothing's going to happen and smash. So very important, make sure that, and that basically pushes all the calipers up and adjusts the brake pad clearances, and you're good to go.